All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about something that for way too long has been a thing that's done to people, not with them. Yep, I'm talking about performance management. But today, we're unpacking a blueprint for a complete overhaul, a whole new way of thinking that's actually built for growth, not just judgment.
I mean, seriously, does this question even need to be asked? You know that feeling, right? That knot in your stomach, all the prep, that super awkward conversation? It's pretty much a universal experience. And for most of us, it brings a whole lot more anxiety than it does inspiration.
And here's the thing, if you feel that way, it's because you're right. The old way of doing things, the ranking, the rating, the reviewing, it's just fundamentally broken. So it's time to stop patching it up and start building something totally new. It is time for a blueprint. So, before we can build something better, we've got to understand the trap we're in. Let's really dig in and diagnose why that traditional model just completely fails in the way we work today. This slide, right here, gets to the absolute heart of the matter. The old way, it's all about judgment and control. It's a system that forces managers to be judges, handing down some kind of verdict. The new way completely flips that on its head. It's a system designed to actually grow people, where managers get to be coaches, focused on unlocking potential. Now, to make that big philosophical shift actually happen, you need a new set of ground rules. Think of these as the non-negotiables, the load-bearing walls of our new building. If you get these right, everything else just naturally falls into place. So here they are, the 6 core pillars. The big idea is to shift the entire game from judgment to genuine development. That means we ditch the one big, scary annual review for a continuous, supportive conversation. It also means we stop pitting people against each other with rankings, and instead we focus on making the system itself better for everyone. And maybe the most critical piece of all, which we'll get to, is separating the chat about your growth from the chat about your paycheck. Okay, so with those principles as our solid foundation, we can now roll out the blueprint itself. And let me be clear, this is not just another HR program. Think of it as a brand new operating system for the entire organization. It's called the Systems-Informed EQ-Driven Development Cycle. And yeah, I know that's a mouthful, but every single word in there is packed with meaning. Systems-Informed just means we're looking at the whole system, not just blaming individuals. And EQ-Driven means we use our emotional intelligence to guide how we actually talk to each other. So what does this new operating system look like in action? Well, it's not a single event. It's a continuous cycle made up of 5 practices that all feed into each other. Let's walk through it. You can see the whole flow right here. It's a loop. It starts with setting clear goals together. Then, the day-to-day stuff is all about coaching, which then informs a much more big-picture review of how people are contributing. And notice where compensation is? Dead last and totally separate. First things first, goals. Using a framework like OKRs, that stands for Objectives and Key Results, teams set some pretty ambitious goals every quarter. But here's the absolute kicker. Hitting these goals is not tied to your bonus. The whole point is to get everyone on the same page and spark new ideas, not to create a scorecard to beat people with. This part right here, this is the absolute cornerstone of the whole system. Instead of that one massive review, managers and their teams have regular, informal check-ins. And these aren't about judging what you did last month. They're about looking ahead, asking, hey, how can I help? And what's standing in your way? It's all about support in real time. Next up, employees actually get to be partners in making the company better by pointing out what's broken in the system. And when it's time for a more formal talk, that old school review gets replaced by a holistic, forward-looking conversation about your impact, what you've learned, and where you want to go next. No ratings, no numbers. And finally, way over here, we have compensation. This is handled in a completely separate process, usually just once a year. Leadership gets together and looks at a whole bunch of different data, like market rates, the scope of your role, your overall impact, to make fair decisions. Keeping it separate is what protects the honesty and trust of all those other conversations. Now, those 5 parts all work together beautifully. But there is one single foundational choice that unlocks the entire thing. It's like the first domino that has to fall to make everything else even possible. So what is it? What's the secret sauce that takes this from a nice idea to a real functioning human-centered system? It all boils down to one simple but powerful choice you make when you design the process from the ground up. This, right here. This is the whole ballgame. The second you structurally separate the conversation about getting better From the conversation about getting paid, you completely neutralize fear. Suddenly, people can be honest. They can admit they need help. They can give real feedback without that little voice in their head wondering if it's going to affect their bonus. It creates the psychological safety you need for real coaching and real growth to ever happen. Okay, so let's zoom out and put all the pieces together. Let's look at the entire blueprint on one page so you can see how all these parts lock together to create this amazing cycle of growth. This cable basically lays out the new rhythm of work. And notice the different speeds here, right? You've got ongoing and weekly chats for that in-the-moment support, quarterly cycles to keep everyone aligned, and only then do you get to the bigger semi-annual and annual events for reflection and rewards. It's a system built around a continuous hum of growth, not a single yearly boom or bust. At the end of the day, it really comes down to this. We have to stop evaluating performance and start developing it. The future belongs to the companies that are brave enough to make this shift, to go from controlling people to actually coaching them and making the systems they work in better. And that really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Take a hard look at your own company, your own team, and ask yourself this one simple but really powerful question. Is the system you're working in designed to build people up, or is it still just designed to judge them? The answer to that question? Well, it changes everything.